Cool. Recording is going. Share to an empty screen.
Hey, so I sent you yesterday a other airnote that I tested and should be charging in sunlight. So please try it out.
Cool.
And please try it on the original place you had it, so we can kind of see if that actually would be working or not overall. So just give it a shot.
Cool. Sorry, and did you say you sent me one already, or?
Yeah, I sent it yesterday. It's on the way.
Cool.
So
Oh, okay.
probably get it today. I think we'll get it tomorrow. Probably tomorrow. I send it out later in the day, so probably you should get it. Maybe today or tomorrow, but it's in the mail.
Cool.
And just
Awesome.
send the other one, the one that doesn't work. If you can just return it, then I'll just keep it as a prop because I need a prop anyway, so I can put it in the showcase.
Cool. Or I might fix it.
Yeah, we fix it probably later, but for now it's just return it so that I have. So we have now two broken, and I'm testing one. There's one more. Yeah, just return it. The one you're getting doesn't have a sticker on it. So,
gotcha.
So if you want to peel off that sticker and stick it on the other one, please do so.
Yeah. It was interesting actually because the instructions say to like open it up and charge it, but in order to open up, I would have to remove that little sticker because it's right on. I was like, let me just
because I don't think, and I'm talking to Ray about this. Well, I don't think it's a good idea to have people do all of that, and just. Because they have a charge when they're shipped, so it works. And I think people opening it and fiddling with the USB port and potentially breaking it or forgetting to put the screws back in, etc., this I think doesn't make sense to me. And all the ones
charging it also doesn't make sense because if it has zero charge when you put it outside, then it'll never work if it doesn't get enough sunlight. If it gets enough sunlight to keep up with what its uses are, then it's going to work for as long as it works.
Yep.
If you charge it first and then put it somewhere in the dark, it's going to work for about a week.
You're just prolonging the problem.
The whole point of
you
by charging it ahead of time, you may be masking an inappropriate location or the inappropriateness of the location.
I think there was a related item, and I put it on the Slack yesterday. Is that when you go to the airnote purchase page, it says it's for indoor and outdoor use, and that's okay, but the prime use is outdoor in my mind because it's designed to go on an outside window. But I'm quite sure people will go and use it indoors. So it's not great to use indoors because you have to then USB power it, but people can put it in front of the window inside.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it looks like Ray just you can see my screen here, right?
Yep.
I'm not getting
yes.
Cool. Good. Because Ray mentioned here that it looks like he's going to add a field for that, which would be great. Because then people can basically tell us.
Then we can ignore those units.
Yeah, we can take the data in, but we can ignore them when we do the general map.
The environmental maps.
But what is interesting though is what I'm interested in though is that if we have a lot of people and people in mix in and outdoor, what is the quality of in versus outdoor in general?
Yeah.
Right. It's interesting to find out for people. So
look at this. It's already
that's pretty well studied.
They've already got it up on I can't show this easily.
I mean, Ray's been working on it overnight, I'm very sure.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did.
But it's an important piece, so that's good. That's great.
So yeah, there's already a checkbox there now because that basically I can check to say that it's indoor or outdoor, and then that way we can filter. So that means we'll get a flag that says I think it's going to be like dev indoor true, and so that way when we're building apps, we can just keep that flag out of the data. It should be pretty straightforward.
So this is great. And there's a historical reason why this is so important. There was a company called NetAtmo, which I think still exists. They were kind of the first ones to sell these indoor sensors, and they had a temperature measurement, and they made a map of these are the temperatures around the world, and it was hilarious because people put them all over the place, and a lot of people put them in the
house,
in a sunny in-house and in a sunny spot. And so and like ours, it will heat up, and the temperatures were all over the place, and that temperature map was just basically a fail. And they didn't have a way to track it or do it. So so this is for us is also very important because if it is inside or outside, it's a huge deal. And so this is good. So we fixed this potential problem.
How come they didn't make an indoor version of their rain gauge?
So if you take a shower, you can measure.
Or the anemometer
you're doing, which is in California is a deal because in California I think showers are barely working, to say the least. Hey, so Matt, I have a question before we jump in. I was just looking at we have the landing page, which is currently kind of a thing that Ray put up. Then from the landing page we have two buttons: global map and my thing, right? Dashboard and global map. And share my device dashboard.
So I see it just copies the URL for you.
Yeah, so I don't know what this is, but we should work on this a bit more actively because we have influence on this thing. And so let's leave this page for a moment. But I was just going to ask you: have we made some kind of a diagram to kind of chart out what's happening between us and them? So if not,
I don't think anyone has yet. I think I put in like a stub slide for airnote, but someone needs to go in and flesh out the details.
Okay, yeah. So I'm happy to do it, but I'm kind of very time strapped right now. Yeah. So if we create a page, I'm happy to give it a shot. But it's really simple. We should make maybe a page with 3 boxes. The left box is that landing page on Blues, and then a middle box, which is kind of the new landing page we saw last week, and then to the right is the Grafana that you can then go to as well. And then what I would like to suggest is for each of these 3 columns, we can create something under that says what data is where. Because when you go to Blues, then there's some registration happening there. What are we registering there? And then when you come to us, what are you registering with us?
Yeah, and I think longer term, it'd be interesting to talk to Ray to make sure he's aligned on this, but longer term, my understanding is that we would get rid of this and just have people come straight to API and then use, because we should be able to use this pin to do all these same updates from API back to NoteHub's API. So longer term, I don't think we need this.
Because I think Ray stuck it here because we were not ready. So he just did this as a hack. But I'm worried because hacks normally survive, human mankind.
Yeah, well, especially when you have no active engineers really, which is kind of where we're now.
So we don't exactly right. But I'm talking the whole day to people around the world and trying to get people excited to come and help us. So last night I was talking to a new volunteer, but she's not a programmer, so she won't be able to in this department, but that's okay. But and then we have Bartran, and I hope to once this is rolling, I hope there's more people going to say that, hey, this is really cool. This is really, the only real competitor in my mind we have is what is it? Purple blue or purple whatever? Purple Air. Beyond that, I don't see a lot of real competition, but Purple
What happened to Air Quality Egg?
I think they made an omelet, and I don't know. But I'm trying to say is they don't really have a community and don't have any of those things. So for people that are interested in this, we are a whole lot more interesting if you want to play with this data and get involved, etc. So I hope this will have. Hopefully, we're going to get some help. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So what we have what we have ready for this is the page that Emery originally set up for airnote as the landing page. Which we can use. So you notice it's already airnote dedicated. It has it's mobile friendly. So if you scan your code on a phone, it'll work.
My only request last week is that kind of top header, if we can make that somewhat, that device number can maybe go kind of where you have that maybe it can go to the bottom where it's or somewhere out, but on top it should basically.
There's a bunch of other stuff too. These are still the old charts, so these charts need to get updated to the new charts, and then we need to add pin support so that people can do this kind of stuff. Is a big step.
But maybe we can launch what we have and say we have something, because if we send them straight to Grafana page, we're kind of missing the whole Safecast intermediate step, which is really important, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that that's kind of the communication we have, and then we can start to extend this and make it better.
My guess is Ray is not going to be thrilled about that until we have the setting support, right? Like I think that's probably why he put this in here, is because without something like this that has the pin support, there's no way
but
to
we can leave,
administer the device at all.
but we can just leave this. We're not going to replace this for now. We just leave it, but we improve our dashboard to be a little bit more what the landing page is, and the moment we have it all working, we can bypass it.
Yep.
That's my preference of getting there. I know we can make it all perfect and then have a magic day in the future to cut over. It will never happen. And I've done
not
this
until we have
life.
people who can code it.
Not only that, I've done this my whole life. I just did a massive system migration last year in 3 months of a system with thousands of people on it, and we did it. And we did it because, and the way we did it is we just created this thing next to it, and we kept on launching it until it was good enough, and then we pushed out the old. And I would strongly recommend that we're not trying to wait for that magic moment. The landing page we have right now is actually pretty good. It's better than Grafana because
this one here, you mean?
Yeah, just go for it. And from here we can go to Grafana is what I would suggest. The more sensor data, right? I would. Sure. I don't know if more sensor data sounds great. You could have called it more, whatever. But I would just insert that. And then if we can make the diagram, I'm happy if you can share that link again that you just showed. If we can start to think through as to what happens where, and then, as you said, if the goal is to shift that into the landing page, then when can we achieve that? Or do we keep that hook with that we just here forever? Then we can talk with Ray about it, right? I'm not saying either way. Because I want to also understand what Ray wants to do with it. He may want to say, well, I want to have a hook back to the customer to tell them about something important, like there's a firmware bug and you should keep the device upside down for half an hour and then it resets. I no idea, right? Or we communicate through that. For most people that will deploy, they will not even register, or there's no obligation to register, right? It's an opt-in. So to speak. So we should think that through. So if we can work on that diagram, and then if you can see when you feel comfortable to kind of go from the Grafana to the landing page plus Grafana move, then I would say let's do it. I think it's better. What I understood from Ray is that Ray and his team is that so the first batch which you got a sensor out of is really being used by people like ourselves. So it's really an internal launch right now in that sense. And the real batch, the next batch is coming in right now. I believe that will be shipped out probably over the coming week or so is what I guess. So that will be, I'm not sure how many devices it is, but it is maybe 100 or something. So it's also small, but it gives us a little bit of time to launch and experiment and get feedback. And I think after that, the kind of the devices after that is it's going to be a bigger batch. So if we want to do something now is better than later on, in my mind. So because then we have something out, and then we can work in parallel with Ray to see what what lives where, and that that doesn't have to happen now. Does that make sense? Or
yep. And
I'm happy to work on that page to kind of noodle a bit, and maybe we can see if we can have a joint discussion with Ray at some point in time as to what collectively what we want to do there. Then the other thing is on the global map. What happens if you click on that global map on that page, that the Blues landing page?
Oh, on the Blues landing page on this thing, this takes you to the all airnotes Grafana page. So,
this one, right? Okay.
Yeah, and we don't have anything comparable here to match that. This is what I was hoping Botran would help us out with, but I haven't seen anything from him yet.
Can we just for now put the same link in there?
The same link as what and where?
The link to this page on
this page?
On our yes.
Yep. Yeah, we can do that.
So you have more sensor data, and I would
put global map or something.
Global map. If we can do that, I think that's good enough. Then on the global map, I don't want to tweak it too much, but my only request for that global map is that there's two things I wanted to ask on it. One is, can we just make that map bigger, taller, because the data that comes under it for most people will be,
Sure.
Yeah, just make it taller so that the whole world is visible, and then this thing that is under it something like that by default that would be great. And then zoom it so that the world just fits logically. I have a question on this map here. When you try to zoom in, at some point it doesn't go as deep as Google Maps goes. Is that something we can control, or this is it?
No, I think that's as close as Grafana gets, because it caps out, I think, at like zoom level 12.
Right.
Whereas like Google, I think, goes to like 15 or 17.
They're using OpenStreetMap, right? Okay. And that is not something we can change.
Correct.
Okay, fine. Then the reason, it's not a big deal, by the way. It will not be meaningful for most people. It's only meaningful for me because I have 5 sensors on my roof, and I can't get close enough to do something with them. Don't worry about it. That's fine. Otherwise, it works fine. The other thing I don't like about this map personally is, and I understand why it is there. And again, it's not really a big deal. You have the zoom in and out buttons, but you can also pinch. But on a PC, it also reacts on your zoom in and zoom out, and it is very.
Well, can we do? Because I think you can turn off
pinching.
You can turn off zoom. I don't know if that's going to kill the buttons or not. Yeah, mouse wheel zoom. So I think we can turn that off, and that should let this still work, but scroll shouldn't. I think.
Thank you.
Great. That's great.
That's great, because that's very irritating.
Yeah.
So if you can
no more so than not being able to scroll on an iPad where you have to touch between the windows.
Yeah.
So, and this sort of, I know I've said this before, but just to underline it, I mean, really, like, Grafana is built as like a tool for people doing operations work. So there you go. So that works. But we're definitely stretching the limits of what Grafana can do.
No, it's good. It's fine. So let's work with the limitations, because this is good. It's 90% what it. You can make it more. That's the next round of thinking. So for now, let's make it workable. So if you can just make the default,
I think that probably means the
default
pinch is
a little bit bigger. Then the other thing is on the I'm not clear on what the small and big bubbles were again.
I think it's number of points is what it's showing you there.
Okay, so I have a question here. So
no, I think it's actually the quality value. I think the point size gets bigger as the PM value gets bigger, is what it's doing.
Yeah, but what
happens on the radiation sensors?
Yeah, I think that's what's happening.
It does it on the radiation sensors too, though. So
is that meaningful? I mean, I don't see it as being meaningful.
Option. Let me see if I can tell it to not change the point size. Circle parameters. What's absolute size?
Here you have. Okay, here.
There you have. Size factor 1. Let's do maximum size of like 6.
Because it's not intuitive what it means. So I would just say keep it simple. Just have the color speak for itself. And can you have more colors? Can we make the gradation a slightly more gradated? Or
we can put whatever numbers we want for the threshold. So it just depends on what colors you want to pick and what numbers you want to pick, really.
So can I don't know, Jem, maybe you can help a bit. Can we find out if there is something that is globally used that is like, is it 5 levels? Is it 10 levels? Is there something that
I don't think really globally used? There certainly is the jurisdictional ones. If we use the standards of the Southern California Air Quality Management District, those are pretty well defined, but they're not the same as used elsewhere. Everybody kind of has their own AQI, Air Quality Index.
Because we have Andre on our board, maybe we can check what AQMD is doing. Maybe that's
easy. You can go to their website, and they have thresholds and colors that are assigned. And they're based on recommendations for the public on, okay, at this level you shouldn't play outside. This level you should, do whatever you want. This,
Maybe we can.
So air quality, right there, the very first thing next to their logo.
Oh, was it the first one? Oh, here.
Yeah. And somewhere there's a document on where the thresholds and values are for their standards.
So why not follow this? We should.
Well, so there's 2 things that I would say. One is this might be, is how do they compute it? And we probably aren't doing the same computation because we're not doing any computation, right? Like we're literally just displaying.
Yes, I know. However,
I think you're overestimating the sophistication of their numbers. Their numbers are based on raw, just micrograms per cubic meter, which is what our sensor is supposed to be reading out.
Can you try to find that? Because I can't find it.
Yeah, we can confirm
Okay,
that.
I'll look for it.
But Matt, so I've looked at a lot of websites, and theoretically AQI was supposed to be computed on a number of measurements, but it has basically become PM 2.5 in almost all practical purposes these days. So
it's also like a table thresholded thing.
Yeah.
Like I was looking at it earlier, and it's interesting, but you have to do 24-hour buckets, and then it's like it uses like a table where it's like if PM 2.5 is between these values, then the value is 50 or whatever, which is
okay. So they're using theirs is based on the EPA's air quality. You could reach out to Andrea to say, you know, in reality, if we take the PM 2.5 value and we use this thing, are we making a ground level ozone, particle pollution, PM 2.5?
Okay, I found it.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay,
that's just based on raw.
HMDI.gov docs default source air quality index. It's a PDF file, and
Can you
good
just throw it
is
in the
0
Slack
to
channel?
50. Sorry,
I missed most of what you said. Can you throw it in the Slack channel?
I'll try. It's I'm looking on another iPad, so.
Oh, okay.
But maybe you can.
I'll just find it again on here, and then I'll give you a link.
Right. So I don't know what we should do with the color index.
I think the first question is trying to come up with some sort of threshold that maybe isn't just ours. So what I'll say, what is there today, I'm pretty sure is what I set up, which is it's like a very rough mapping of this table, but just the PM 2.5 measurements. And then the color gradation is the SafeCast style color gradation.
Yeah. And you know what? I can also go to.
I got to tell you, if we use the Southern California Air Quality Management District Index, everything on our map is going to be blue because they have everything 0 to 50 micrograms per cubic meter is green, 51 to 100 is yellow, 101 to 150 is orange, 151 to 200 is red, and above 200 is purple. So, you know, that's it. Everything's going to look like perfectly clean on our map if we use that.
Yep. And that actually brings me to a whole other thing, which is where I would love to get Bertrand doing like a custom map. Is like right now this shows you just average values over whatever time span you ask it for. So like if you ask for like 7 days, it's averaging out, you know, it's taking like all of the PM 2.5 values that it's ever seen from this sensor over 7 days, and then giving you the average value over a full 7 days.
That is the question I had. That doesn't really make sense. So
I don't think we can do anything different though. Like it's not, there's no selections on what it shows you, or even like
that's a Grafana thing, right?
Yeah. Because you think about like the idea is like errors for servers, right? So like your servers in which region, what number of errors did they see? And so like it makes sense that you would average those out over whatever selected time span. But with PM 2.5, it goes up and down all the time. So,
yeah. So okay, because that is why everything is blue. That's why it doesn't make any sense at the moment, because that is you basically want to show the last value within a certain range. If it is beyond that range, then drop it.
Which is sort of what Nick was trying to do with these triangle display.
Right. The way to solve it would be that you run a small batch that picks up for all the sensors the last value and keeps on updating that table. And then you just display that table. And that is exactly what real time was designed to do. And that also solves another problem that, you know, you only have to pick up, if there's 40 sensors, there's 40 data elements instead of 40 million data elements, because, you know, averaging and, you know, so averaging over 7 days is going to be useless. Everything will be blue, basically.
Yeah. So I think what we need to do is basically build a custom map that can do, you know, can give you the last 24 hours.
Or that simple batch, you know, select all from table where value is and where data is less than 3 hours. You know, I can write the select statement still for.
Yeah, but you can't write it in Grafana is the problem. That's why I'm saying.
No, but you write it as a stored procedure on this thing. Your what is it? You're running.
It's Elasticsearch that you're seeing on the map right now.
No, but what's the database you're using?
So it's Postgres and Elasticsearch. Botron was trying
Right.
Postgres first, but had trouble actually getting it performant. So we'll see how that pans out.
But in Postgres, you could easily do that select. You know, if
Yeah.
it doesn't run fast, then your indexes are whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you would do that, that's a very simple select statement. You could see if that can get to work and just display that. That's the easiest way to get there. Everything else is complex.
I don't see values on this link, Joe.
So, yeah, on that chart.
Yeah, there's not, like, it's showing the AQI, healthy, unhealthy, but it's not showing what PM 2.5 would translate to that air quality.
Typically, it's 1-to-1.
I think the numbers on the left are micrograms per cubic meter.
Yeah.
Are they?
Almost everybody is using that now as it's just a 1-to-1.
Okay.
The old, in the past there were ideas around making it a composite of things, but there's very few sites that doing it. And the answer is really easy because there's almost no sensors that measure all of that are economical. Right. So
is this like
also,
this that you sent, Joe, looks like
AQMD
almost
has made
the
it
same
clear
as this.
that their index is an indication of regulatory compliance, not and basically nothing else. They want to be able to have a range that shows that the government incentives for improving air are having an effect. So they've chosen their colors and their indexes to, basically show that their policies are working.
Yeah.
Or not.
Or not. Yeah. They
actually
set the threshold.
Actually, the correlation between PM.
Now, I think what you sent, Joe, is almost
linear.
the exact same thing as the AQI from AirNow.gov as well. Because if you notice, even like the very unhealthy, so these numbers aren't these are like the AQI numbers, which you would compute from this range of PM 2.5.
Right. So
which is basically what I did on the map already. I just didn't use these same colors because I thought with Safecast we were trying to like avoid green. So I just did like the Safecast gradient with these thresholds.
Yeah, but and gray is not a good choice because it's very hard to see. So we need to think of some
green,
maybe
green,
yellow, end on yellow, and maybe have more variation in the middle. But
and we can't get into the whole problem of contents of the particles because the most common particles sensed by the PM sensors are sodium chloride and from evaporated salt spray near the coast. And that's generally considered a completely harmless particle to inhale. Whereas if you're further inland and near a dry desert or something, the most common particle is going to be silicon dioxide. And silicon dioxide is considered a harmful particle because it leads to silicosis, and they are very close in appearance and density. There's no way the sensors can distinguish them. So the whole idea of having a quality or health index based on quantity of material in the air it's just not going to work. We've managed to get the air quality into 3 general zones, which is coastal zones, which is anything within 50 kilometers of an ocean or a large saltwater body. Okay, and then urban zones, which are in areas where the dominant land surface is roadways, and because then the most common particles in the air are the interaction between vehicles and the road and exhaust from vehicle engines. And then there's rural or like forest. The third category means rural and forest areas where the most common particles in the air are biological in origin. They're pollens and things from flowers and trees and whatnot. And the health cross-section of the same density of particles in each of those things is very different. About the only thing we can do is say, okay, in urban areas, this kind of quality is likely to lead to bad health outcomes and asthma admissions at hospitals. And in coastal areas, it's a completely different cross section. And then in rural and in wilderness areas, it's a third cross section.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like radiation in general too, where like it's not you can't globally say this value is bad and this value is good. It's a lot more important to know what is typical or atypical for any given area.
One of the big difference with air quality data is that we don't have an underlying theory of solving that problem. So we need to actually have a lot more data from the environment so that we can correlate it with health outcomes over, say, 10 or 20 years in order to get a basis for health health risk. Whereas with radiation, the relationship between a low dose radiation and health effects is a very linear line. We've got we have a very confident understanding of the relationship between carcinogenesis and radiation exposure. So, but with the health air quality, we know that there is a relationship between air quality and health, but the actual dimensions and number of dimensions of that problem is much less known.
Cool. We're going to get cut off in about 9 minutes here. So, Peter, do we want to use this color scheme on the global map? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not.
I don't like it, but it is standard.
Yeah. So I was also
the thresholds here are the same thing as that table. Actually, I was going to show the table and the threshold side by side, but it's a little tricky on the side of the screen.
We can follow the same thing or not. I think that
these are AQI thresholds. They're just not AQI colors. So we could easily change the colors to match.
Matt, is it possible to turn the key upside down?
Nope.
Okay, so smaller numbers on the top, bigger numbers on the bottom.
Nope. Yeah, that's the way it works.
Okay. No, but if you type if you type the numbers in the threshold values in reverse order, it doesn't reverse it.
No, not for the thresholding, because it's going to sort them before you do it. Because you see, it's doing like the less than and the plus for me. Yeah, you have to put. Okay, I have a half working pull request to. It doesn't.
Yeah. Don't bother with it then. It is what it is. It is not a disaster. And the thing is you can't really put the unit in that table. So the unit should be. That's why I sent a message yesterday. The PM 2.5.
You probably put a title on the table and have it say,
the table title.
Nope, you can't. That's what I'm trying to get at. No, I mean like someone's gonna go write TypeScript to make that happen.
So just a moment. Where is this PM 2.5 sensor values title coming from?
This is the title of the graph. I say you can't do anything on the legend. You can change
legend
this.
is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Just change that. It's the legend is fine. I understand what you're saying. So just if you can PM 2.5 microgram per square meter, if you can enter that there.
Yeah.
Then
cubic meter.
Right there. That will do it. That's fine. And then panel description supports markdown and links. What does panel description do? What happens if I type in something?
It does. Where is it? It puts this here, and then you can put things in here.
Oh, okay. That could be a way for us to, not hide Peter, of course. They could put some text here, like about the thing and a link to something else, right? Okay, so that's easy stuff. All right.
Yep. Yeah, it's just there's always going to be these lines that we cross where it's like, oh, it'd be really nice if it did that, but like Grafana is just not coded to do
that's
that.
Fine.
So.
That's fine. So let's aim for the 80% here, and then.
Yep.
But you can make it. I know that on the other one we made it a whole lot better by just typing things differently, and make it more logical. So.
Yep.
Okay. So, I
like it. Oh, you even got a superscript on the cubic meters.
I know. I had to go grab the right Unicode from the other dashboard where we did that. So
okay.
Looks very professional now.
Yeah. Cool.
Is that
and we can change the colors easily enough. What's up?
Is that a single character or a superscript?
I don't know.
Because there is a Unicode character that is a little 3.
It's a good question. I don't know. I forget how I got this one. So
that's
somehow
fine.
I got
it looks fine.
So Joe, if you want to poke around and see if that color chart that is being used by AQMD is kind of used broadly, then maybe there is a
it seems like I looked at it a year ago and decided that I didn't like it, but that it is kind of standard. So
yeah.
Here we go. This is what I was going to show you, was that the values that I have in there right now actually match up with this column.
Great.
With like the 1235.
2.5 micrograms for 24 hours.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, kind of.
That's a 24-hour average, right?
Which we can't do on Grafana, which we just talked about. Like you can do a 24-hour average if I say last 24 hours. There's a 24-hour average.
Yeah. The thing is because we're taking averages, there's no peaking out because the peaks are being buried. So so let's work on. So Matt, could you think about that simplistic idea I have is that you make an intermediate table where you just park the last value of a sensor within a certain range, and then connect it to.
We need someone who's going to be able to dev it up. We don't have Nick. my time is basically spent entirely on these meetings and coordinating issues. Maybe we have Emre, but he's a little out of contact lately. And Batran has certainly shown some interest, but I haven't seen any kind of deliverable
So
yet.
can we do one thing here? If we by default make this the last 3 hours, what does it look like?
You're probably going to miss some sensors because it's like nighttime. Yeah, so a couple sensors drop out because they haven't reported in the last 3 hours.
And
That's all right. That's not so bad.
That's not too bad.
Okay.
I've got sensors that are completely dropped out because they have been gone for a year. So
3 hours it is.
Because with air quality, it's really what it is now is the first thing, and then people can tweak this thing and say, I want to see over time or whatever. But you can click on a sensor and see it change over time, right? So
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to justify that. Now, I think my worry is that everything shows blue. People will say that we're blue washing it or greenwashing the whole thing, and that is not what we want to do either. If we do the last minute, you will have only one sensor because that it goes.
You might not even have one. Yeah.
Or even at one at this point, right? But at some point, so that would be the work that we just talked about. This is maybe a better starting value.
Sure.
The last 3 minutes. The last 3 hours or 6 hours. I don't know, Joe, any thought on that?
3 hours seems okay.
3 hours seems okay to me as well. 1 hour, you will lose too many sensors.
I don't think the sensors stop sending at night. I mean, there's no reason, but they don't stop sending at night.
Well, they step back the interval if the voltage is low. So
yeah, but I haven't seen an airnote ever do that, including the one at up in Fukushima that has a bad solar panel. It's been sending every whatever for a whole week, and it has never charged because it's bad.
This one sent me something in the last 6 hours, but not in the last 3 hours. So maybe it's dead.
Which one's that?
Actually, Matt, those things, if we can filter it back to Ray, that may be important for him because it could be something not working as advocated.
This looks like Rob. That's like Nara area.
Oh, Rob.
Oh, Nara. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
but that's weird.
See if you can pull up the one in Namie. It's been battery's been declining for a week. So
this is no, that's not interesting. Hey, so Matt, that one for Rob, could you ping that to Rob and ask him? Because it should not have stopped. The battery is not the reason for it to stop. So maybe there's something else happening between the sensor and us. Or it's worthwhile to find out why it's not sending data. Now it's Rob's thing, and so Rob maybe it's Rob, right? Rob may be hacking. He's hacking. He's working on one of them or something.
He's probably working. Yeah, he probably disconnected it.
But look, we should look maybe at some. I'll look around as well and see. I noticed that sometimes it does. It may send every 30 minutes, but it actually may not send any 30 minutes. It may send every 3 hours. The last 3 hours data.
Oh, we're about to get cut off, so I'll post the recording after.
Why are we getting cut off?
Zoom.
You don't have a subscription?
Not for this. I have a Elastic subscription, but
I have a subscription. If you want to use that next time, you're more than welcome to use it. So
yeah, you have to add me to the org, I think, or you can set up the meeting, one or the other.
Okay, so let's do that later. Yes, can do.
Yep, cool.
Okay.
Okay, the sensor with no charging up in Namie has been sending constantly daytime and nighttime, even though it has no solar panel.
Cool.
Okay, so let's continue this on Slack.
Sounds good. All right, talk to you all soon.
Sounds good. Okay, Matt. See you soon. Thanks, Joe. Bye.